Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Lonely Wrist podcast, where we explore watches just not as objects, but reflections of people, culture, and design. I am your host, as always, Blake Ray. And today, our guest is a true connoisseur of the unconventional. This collector has built a collection around the rare, under the radar, and fiercely independent watch brands. We are about to find out what drives someone to seek out the truly unique watches in this watch world. Of course, I am talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Jan, aka Yandretti. Welcome to the Lonely Wrist.
Blake, thank you for having me. We've been trying to do this already for quite a while, and I guess everything is meant to be at a certain time. And after Geneva, it was a good time to link up after linking up.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's been a long time coming. And something that particularly interested me and to have you on is just the amount of obscurity that you have in your collection. One, and just your passion for the independent scene.
Mm.
Um, I think it's going to be a lot of value to our audience, and I just definitely can't wait to have this published and just to hear the feedback.
It's funny, like
Um,
you gave such a good description right now of the collection without, you know, the collection being shown. And about an hour ago, in one of these like Instagram watch groups, somebody posted a meme that said that MBNF owners will wear MBNF to like random events just so people could ask them like, "Oh, what's that on your wrist?" And I replied to that. I'm like, man, most of my watch collection, I get those kind of responses like, "Oh, what's that?" And it's not even MBNFs or anything close to MBNFs. So I thought that
it
was interesting.
it's funny because I consider myself informed, I guess. I mean, fuck,
Hmm.
I have a watch podcast, like I should know a lot about the independents, but it seems like every single day, I've been following you for a while now. It just seems like you're posting stuff I've never heard of, the obscure stuff, the yeah, I mean, you just have such a wealth of knowledge in that space, and yeah, I'm excited for you to share it with everybody.
You don't do like a wrist check?
We can, we
Let's do
can,
it. Let's do it.
let's do
You
it.
know,
All
it's
right, go ahead.
because you inspired me because when I was waiting for you, when you had your phone call, my wrist was naked. Then I'm
Oh,
like, oh, shoot,
lonely.
he's wearing a watch. I'm like, what if he asked me what's in your wrist? I don't want to say the invisible watch. So I had
No,
to, I
let's
went.
do it.
So I've been obsessed with this
Go.
Glassut original Pano inverse
Hell
with
yeah.
the engraved bridge and the balance wheel right on the dial. So my whole thing, I've been saying to everyone I know who I speak watches with that last year, 2024, was the year of the stone dials to the point where if I see another stone dial, I'm just gonna like throw the watch like in the water. I'm tired of the Malachites, the Lapises, the Tiger Eyes. Like it's already like done to death, like overkill. And when the year ended and New Year started, I said, this year I want to see tourbillons and I want to see balance wheels right on the dial. Yep. And so far, I've been seeing that actually from some brands. One which will be released tomorrow officially. You know who we're referring to. I don't know if we could
Yeah.
refer to them yet. Although by the time this airs, the
This
watch
will
will
be
be
out.
out.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be out.
Okay, yeah. So the new Christopher Ward has a
Yep.
nice bridge and balance wheel right on the dial. And when I first saw it, because certain images got leaked about a month ago in like certain chats, but luckily they weren't leaked outside of those chats. So the
Good.
community, yeah, the
Yeah.
community is
Yeah.
very kind in that way. And
Sure,
I'm
sure.
surprised they did such a good job, not having any of the leaks until pretty much today, which is the day the documentary comes out and the watch is officially released tomorrow. So they've done a great job. But when I first saw the watch, I was like, wow, I almost feel I believe in law of attraction. And I really feel when I saw that watch, I'm like, man, literally like January 1st, my mind is like, I want to see balance wheels, I want to see tourbillons, all that good stuff, because to me, that gives a watch life. It gives it almost like the heartbeat. Instead of just, you look at a watch from, say, the 70s, 60s, 80s, even 90s, it's just a watch. It tells the time, you got the hour hand, the minute, some don't even have a seconds hand. And it's just, the old school classic look, and I feel like with the way watchmaking is going today, with the crazy watches from the Grubel Forsays to the
Yeah.
David Candaus, MBNFs, and even the micro brands, like I love micro brands, and I feel micro brands are bridging that gap between high end and affordability while also being true to design, which is what I love in watches. I love design, language, and uniqueness. So, for example, Martin D watches, they have their Kickstarter campaign for their Connemara model, which is their second watch. Their first one, I forgot the name of the model, came out last year. Very popular, and I think you've seen me post it, and I sent you the
I
link even.
have. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
this one, the Kickstarter campaign, freaking 300 euros, 289 euros,
It's
which is like
crazy.
pennies for a watch, and the watch is gorgeous. Horizontally brushed colored dials with a double balance wheel on the dial for freaking 300 euros and a Kickstarter campaign. Like, it's ridiculous, and to the naked eye, to the person who's not a watch collector, once you have that watch on your wrist and you go somewhere, automatically the question, whoa, what is that on your wrist? I noticed that from far because of the two balance wheels and also the horizontal brushing with the bright colors on that dial. And a person would look at that and think that's okay, probably 15, $20,000 watch, maybe even more. And to find out that it's sub 1,000, it's like just mind blowing completely.
Everybody needs like a conversational piece in their collection, and
Hmm.
a lot of people have that stereotype that it needs to be like ridiculously priced, but it doesn't have to be.
And that's what
Um,
the micros are doing, and they're bridging that gap to the point where, for example, to me, one of the best watches of the last 5 years, pretty much since the pandemic started, has been the Christopher Wald Belcanto. That's, the watch is already iconic. The watch is considered a masterpiece amongst pretty much every enthusiast, and the reason is they took a chiming movement and made it into a sub $5,000 watch, which is unheard of because I think the next chiming watch, I think, is the LUC Chapard, and I think that's like around 45, 50 grand, maybe even more. So for them to do that sub 5,000, and it looks insane. The whole dial looks like a floating dial, and it chimes every hour, and has a lot of nice colors, and they did 1,000,001 collaborations, but still they're all nice and
yeah,
super affordable.
yeah. I mean, it's crazy the value that Christopher Ward's able to pack into any timepiece. Like, I mean, from even their basic like C63 collection all the way up to the Belcanto, and now with the new piece, which I don't even know the name.
From
I haven't
my
even.
understanding, unless they changed the name, it was called Loco, kind of like a locomotive. Or
Oh,
loco like crazy in Spanish. I don't know for sure, but originally it was called a loco. I'm not 100% sure now because of the footage that I've seen on Instagram for the release of this documentary. Uh, it's called like Wheelin' or something, I guess, because the balance wheel, but I don't know if
yeah,
that's the name of the
yeah,
documentary
like
or they
freewheeling
rename.
or something.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I don't know if that's the name of the documentary or the model. But I know originally it was called Loco, and in my head at first I was like Loco, but I think it's short for locomotives because it's locomotive, the wheels spin, I guess,
Sure.
or maybe that's just the wheels in my mind spun that elaborate story right now. I don't know, but yeah, that watch. Speaking of that watch again, that's another watch that's sub 5,000. I mean, maybe a little more now with tariffs, but MSRP wise, another watch sub 5,000, and I think there's a 6 day power reserve,
It's
and
crazy.
they got their movement. I think from where MBNF gets their movement. At least that's what I heard from weeks ago during those original leaks. But I guess we'll see officially today when the documentary drops. But I'm
Y-
excited.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
good time.
I'm always excited for new watch releases. I'm curious if you can remember the moment where, you saw a watch that kind of kickstarted your passion for, these independents, underappreciated brands.
Mm. Whew.
I came with the
I
crazy questions, man.
So it wasn't really a moment. So I gotta let you know how this whole watch collecting journey started and why I kind of went down this path.
Do it.
So my first love since I was in high school was perfumery. So I really enjoyed fragrances. And when I say fragrances, everyone knows the brand Creed.
Yep.
I was wearing Creed when Creed was pretty much the only high-end brand. Everything else, you had the designer fragrances, the Acqua di Gios, the Armanis, the Versaces, and Creed was kind of considered that high-end creme de la creme in perfumery. And I got introduced to it by a friend of mine who was older. I used to hang out with older people when I was a teenager. They were in their late 20s already, and they had the Creeds. And I remember smelling it. It was the Creed Silver Mountain Water, the white bottle, and I was like, "Wow!" I was just blown away. It was like going from eating hot dogs your whole life to suddenly trying, I don't know, like black caviar, like a filet mignon medium rare
Yeah, yeah.
with like truffle butter. I was just mind blown. I'm like, wow. and I got some birthday money first freshman year of college, and I went to college in Manhattan. So I took a walk straight to Bergdorf Goodman to the Creed section. Boom, spent a few $100s and got my first niche luxury. And everywhere I went, oh, you smell so good. Oh, you smell so good. What's that? What's that? And I was just so happy. It just felt something refreshing and something different. And I just liked how that felt. And just like kind of, I'm a huge movie buff. I grew up watching movies since I was 3, 4 years old. So my parents, when I grew up in Ukraine, in order for them to leave me by myself so they could do grocery shopping, I would ask them to put on the Terminator for me. So literally, yeah. So this was the late '80s. So this is before T2 even came out. So they would put on Terminator 1 for me. I'm freaking 3, 4 years old watching the Terminator.
Oh shit.
Rated R movie. Yeah. Um, so growing up watching movies, also, I'm a big fan of like all kinds of movies that are not mainstream. Like there's even a theater, for example, in New York I've been going to since I was in high school. It's called the Angelica Film Center, and they play independent movies and foreign movies. And when I was younger, I used to just take a day to myself on Sunday. I would turn off my phone. I would go to the city, take the train there. I would go see a movie, sometimes even two movies. I would just walk around and I would have that day to myself where no one bothered me. No one was able to reach me, and it would just be me, the cinematic universe, and just like a breath of fresh air and walking through Manhattan. And because it's by Soho. And kind of to get back into it, how this convo started. So with the niche perfumery, I started buying and collecting perfumes that also you typically would never hear of them. And if you smell them, you'd be like, oh, I never seen that before. I never smelled that before. I never heard of that before. And I also became known as kind of the guy who always smells good, but also always smells different because I like,
Yeah.
as a collector. And that kind of transferred into my love of watches in the sense also that all watches tell the time. And the real like enthusiasts will get down to that oh, if you buy a watch for like a few $100 with this movement, you're within like plus 2 3 seconds, plus minus 2 3 seconds. Man, those 2 3 seconds aren't really going to change the day for me. uh like we got on this call at 12, whether we got on at 11:59 and 57 seconds or 12 on the dot and 3 seconds later, it doesn't make a difference to me. But for me, I was always interested in visually pleasing watches that look completely different. I like almost like having like a piece of art on your wrist, because all of them will tell the time. But I like watches that tell you time in unique ways, like retrograde hours or retrograde minutes. Watches that just look completely different. I like skeleton watches, and lately I've been having this obsession with seeing the balance wheel on the dial, which gives me like that feeling of just the watch being like a living, breathing piece of art that's just like beating constantly.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and the transition just seems organic going from fragrance to watches because they're both ways of expressing your individuality. If I is that the
Hmm.
right word?
Yeah,
Individuality.
yeah.
Um, to be expressive, right? To be unique, to stand out, I know you mentioned like, Aqua di Gio in your fragrance kind of like shout out, but everybody has that. Or like Blue de Chanel, like
Dude, I
everybody.
I mentioned Aqua di Gio because Aqua di Gio was the first fragrance I ever had.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But I think it's one of those entry doors into fragrance.
Hmm. But you know what's
And
funny? I'm gonna off topic real quick. How that all started. It's an embarrassing story, but it's a funny story. So I think I was probably like 15. So I think it was sophomore year of high school. And I grew up. I have a younger sister. I never had older brothers, just older friends. But no one ever told me about grooming and colognes and you got to wear deodorants and stuff like that. So I think it was sophomore year of high school. I'm on the bus going home, and I have my arm up holding the pole on the bus. And some girl who was a classmate of mine, she was like, "Oh, can you put your arm down? Your armpits stink." And I was so embarrassed. It was like a good looking girl, and I was like, okay. So I went home, started researching, and I was like, okay, first I got to get a deodorant, and then after that, I'm like, I always have to smell good after that. So Aqua di Gio, I think at the time just came out, and it was like, oh, this is at the time when like pickup was still a new thing. Do you
yeah.
remember those days? Or that when Neil Strauss had the book, The Game,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think this and this was like right before he even wrote the game. So this is, I was still in high school. This is like 2005. I think the book came out 2006, seven, maybe something like that. Maybe I'm off by a year or two. Actually, no, no, no. Wait, sorry. I started college in 2000. I was in high school. Say 2002. That's when I was a sophomore. 2002. My dates are a bit.
I was like, that's
Um,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So 2002, I was a sophomore in high school. So that's when Aqua di Giro just came out, and it was obviously super affordable. That, and if you remember, Dolce Gabbana Pour Homme, the one that came, it was like a yellowish. The juice was like a yellowish, and they had the Dolce Gabbana right on the bottle, and the box was blue and like velvety blue, Swedish almost.
I
Do you
think
remember that?
so. I think
Yeah.
so.
So those were like the first two I got, the Aqua di Giu and that. And I just remember after that, like, oh, you smell good, you smell good. And I'm like, oh yeah, that girl really set off a monster with that
Ha-
comment she made on the bus.
has she smelled you recently?
No, she hasn't smelled me in like 2.5 decades.
No, but funny enough, like for me, mine was Versace Eau
Mm,
Fresh or whatever, like the little blue, like clear bottle, like
yeah.
that was my first designer
Hmm.
fragrance. And now I have probably like 150, like 200 bottles of cologne too. Like I'm so huge
Nice.
into fragrance, and I thought about doing
Nice.
like a fragrance podcast too, but
Oh, that would be good. I'll be your first guest.
yeah, there we go. Um, I'm curious about. I mean, so you've talked about how you got into collecting, but what would you say
Mm.
collecting means to you at this moment?
Oh,
Is it about appreciation? Is it's not about investment? I don't know a lot of people
no.
that invest in watches, unless you're
I
trying
know.
to get crazy Pateks or Rolexes. Not the space that we're in.
I never
Or
understood that, honestly. Watches as an investment because if you're going to invest in something, by the time a watch appreciates, you could have made money in the stock market and crypto and a million other things. And like, I'll give you an example. So for my 30th birthday, so my first grail ever was actually a Rolex Day Date
Mhm.
Presidential. And that was a watch I always wanted. And then by pure coincidence, I turned 30 in 2016. That was the year that for Rolex's 60th anniversary of the Day Date, that's when they came out with the 40 millimeter size model in rose gold with the olive green dial with like those dissected Roman numerals. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's iconic now, but it came out in 2016 for my 30th. So I told myself, I'm like, yeah, this is a good time to get your grill, kind of 30 for 30. And at the time, I remember the price on that, you could get it 25% off. So 25% off retail came out to about 27,500, which is freaking expensive.
Of
That's
course.
like,
Yeah.
you could get like 10 other watches for that. But
Yeah.
at the time, that was my grail. But the reason I bring up the price is because now that watch is probably what, 40 if you're lucky,
Yeah, like
about.
45, 40
Yeah.
ish, somewhere around there.
But retail wise, it's still only around, I think, yeah, like 38, 40. Whereas before the retail was I think like 30, 500, but you were just able to get it for, a huge percent off. So realistically, the MSRP didn't really change that much, and it's been what, 9 years? It only changed what, like 2, 3 grand. So it's not really feasible for me to get a watch as an investment because in this 8, 9 years, for example, I bought Bitcoin at I remember my first Bitcoin I bought when I was $1,800. Right now, I checked today; it's 94,000. So in the same time frame that Rolex Day went up 3 grand in MSRP, a Bitcoin went up freaking 92,000. So that's an investment. A watch is not an investment for me. For me, a watch is a way to kind of the way people buy clothes or women buy handbags. I enjoy watches. Or some people have sneaker collections of worth hundreds of thousands. I don't understand that, but I'm not a sneakerhead. I never was.
Yeah.
But to me, watches is an extension of my love of perfumery and also my love of art and individuality. That's why I like, and my appreciation for the independent brands are because they are able to do things that mainstream brands are not. I'll give you an example, Rolex, right? To me, the reason I bring up Rolex because even though Patek is more regarded in a higher level sense than Rolex, Rolex is still to the layman the only watch brand they really know. If a person never seen a watch in their life, they have heard of Rolex.
Yeah. You could be wearing an Invicta and somebody who doesn't know watches like, what is that, a Rolex you got there? Like that's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the You know?
It's already it's iconic the way. So to me, you know how things become iconic. For example, Mike Tyson, right? People don't refer to him as Mike Tyson. Once you say the word Tyson, it's known. The brand Xerox, the paper, the copies, they're
Yep.
no. You call something. Oh, can you make me a Xerox? You don't say, can you make me a copy?
Yeah.
So when you become known as the brand name already, and it's kind of universal, that's when you've really transcended, and that's kind of what Rolex is. You just hear of a watch, it's automatically Rolex.
Yeah.
My grandma's hasn't seen, the only watch she's ever seen was an Orient. So growing up in Ukraine, they all had Orients there with the Japanese movements. My whole family had an Orient, but she's heard of Rolex, which goes to show. But the reason I bring up Rolex again, I like the experimental and the interesting watches, and my favorite Rolexes in the last 5 years have been the puzzle dial day date that they came out with,
Yeah.
was it 2 years ago now?
Like the
The cele
emojis and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. The celebration dial, which just got discontinued, and always the perpetual, and also the palm dial, which I used to have, and I'm an idiot. I sold it 2 weeks before it got discontinued a year ago, which I regret to this day. It was the 36 millimeter with the green palms. And so those three watches to me were the three times when Rolex in the last God knows how long really decided, hey, let's experiment and do something completely new that's very unlike Rolex. And what happened? They released those three watches and they got heat for it. And I never understood that. It's like, as a watch enthusiast and for the diehard Rolex lovers, you want them to keep cranking out the same watch year after year. Like, where's the fun in that? And what got me into the independence, for example, I go to all these events. If I see somebody with a Rolex on, I don't even like. I'll say hello, but I won't even. Oh, it's in your wrist. I just don't care. You see automatically, and it's boring.
Yeah.
As great as Rolex is and what they have done for the community in terms of for watches, they're just kind of boring to me. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's a Rolex, cool. Meh, next.
I saw like this one meme and it was like from Toy Story and it
Hmm.
had like all the Buzz Lightyears on the shelf. Like if you remember
Hmm.
that scene where like
Yeah,
Woody's trying to find the Buzz.
yeah,
And then like but essentially the caption was like Rolex collectors trying to stand out, you know, at a watch
yeah.
meetup. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um and it's funny and we like to make jokes about it, but I think what it boils down to is non-watch guys will own Rolexes, right?
Hmm.
Non-watch guys will own Omegas, less so Omegas, but um, it doesn't really you can't spot a watch guy if he's wearing a Rolex, you
Hmm.
know? Like he's been, oh, it's a great roll. Yeah, yeah, I got it from yeah, I like what like he doesn't they don't know anything about watches, Every time I've oh cool, it's a cool Daytona. Yeah, yeah, I got it about a couple years ago. You know what I mean? But like, oh,
Yeah,
like what else do you have in your collection? Oh, not anything else. You know what I mean? Like you just get that
yeah.
kind of like really passive conversation that you have because they don't know what to buy, so they just buy a Rolex. It's like a default.
It's funny you say that. So I have a buddy of mine. He's a detective, and he wanted to get a watch. He had a Movado, like an old school Movado, and he was like, I kind of want a new age watch. I want something modern, and I haven't really. I got this watch when I was young, or maybe it was a gift. I can't remember. And he's like, I want to get myself a watch. What do you think I should get? Because he knows I like watches. I told him, knowing him, I said, you know what? It'd be great for your first watch. Get yourself a Cartier Santos. Because nowadays the Santoses, they come not only with the bracelet, but they come with a leather strap, so you could swap it out. So it's almost like you have two watches.
Yep.
If you get the green dial, it comes on a green alligator strap, which you could wear as a dress watch. And sporty, you could just boom, quick change into the bracelet. Which to me, Cartier Santos has one of the best bracelets ever. Period. From a design perspective, with the screws, it just I love it. I
It's
think it's
amazing.
super super unique, and it's one of the five best bracelets I think ever made.
What
And so when I told him the Cartier, he was kind of, nah, I think I want a Rolex. And I'm just like, I wanted to pull my hair out. I'm like, ah. And he ended up getting a Submariner, which to me, to me, a Submariner is a top 10 watch ever made in terms of like legendary. The Submariner is to Rolex what a tank is to Cartier. It's one of those like 10, 20 iconic legendary watches. But at this point in time, like, it's a freaking Submariner. It's boring. There's nothing new about it. There's nothing innovative. There's nothing cool aside that, you're wearing a Rolex. And okay, it's understandable. I understand why he got it. Because just like anyone, like I can't even really say anything. I have a Rolex,
Yeah.
but it also says something when I could tell you that I used to have three Rolexes, a 36 millimeter, a 40, and a 41, and I'm only down to one Rolex, which is the 36 millimeter, because the other two Rolexes, I was like, this is kind of boring. I'm way over this already. I don't want it anymore. Let me get something else that's way cooler that kind of speaks to me, you know. But most people will get a Rolex for the status, whether it's subconsciously or consciously. It's still a status symbol, and to me, that's kind of boring. Like, I'd rather you not know what I have in my wrist than you know, oh, he has a Rolex.
No, that's so funny because I have a very similar story. One of my friends is a restaurateur. He's got like 7 or 8 restaurants in North Carolina, and there's no Cartier boutique in North Carolina. There's no Cartier dealers in North Carolina. But he had
Mm,
approached me and said, "Hey, like I want a Rolex Submariner, like I want a GMT, like I want a Daytona," and I'm like, he's like, "What can you do to help me get one?" And I was like, "Bro, just." Yeah, I sent him the link to the Santos. I was like, if I were to suggest a piece to you that is a little bit more, I'd say just as iconic, and I mean just and has the cachet, like the name cachet. And he actually went with my suggestion and purchased the Cartier Santos, and I mean, what's weird is like everybody's got Rolexes in Raleigh, but not a lot of people have Santoses in
mm-hmm,
Raleigh because there's no Cartier dealer, there's no boutique there. You know what I mean? Like
mm-hmm,
Raleigh is one of those fringe markets. Like you'll see Santoses everywhere in New York or here in Vegas or in LA, but in Raleigh, that is a status symbol, I think, and
mm-hmm.
shout out to him, but he loves that watch. He wears it every day, and
Which one? Which one? Sorry, which watch?
the Santos
The Santos.
XL.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm,
yeah, with the bracelet and the strap. And yeah, he loves it every single day. And I also have one too. Like I have the medium.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love that watch. Just the versatility that it brings is
Have you seen my Santos?
yeah, you have the Santos Galbi, right?
No, I have the Carre, which was the original one. It preceded the Galbe. So I have the one from the 80s that Michael Douglas, the full yellow gold one that Michael Douglas wore in the movie Wall Street.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
have seen it. I have seen it.
it's actually like my favorite watch ever. That watch to me just I don't know, it transports me to a different time and era. I wish I grew up in the 80s. I mean, I did, but I was born in 86. So I didn't do that much growing up in the 80s. I'm a 90s baby. But I always loved the 80s, everything from the music to the way people dress. Like, you ever seen the movie Hot Tub Time Machine?
I haven't. Oh, Hot Tub 17. Yeah, yeah, I have. I have. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
absolutely.
like, man,
Absolutely.
I wish I had a hot tub that could transport me to the 80s for like a weekend to go dress up in funky outfits and go skiing and put on that Cartier Santos. And if I grew up in the 80s, I would have still gotten that Santos over a day date because that was the Cartier's answer to the day date. It was that gold Santos. And that's my favorite watch of all time. I feel like it's perfect. It's just perfection and it's a part of like a time capsule. But also with Cartier, I gotta say that when I was younger, when I first got into collecting, when I was in my early and mid 20s and late 20s, Cartier got a lot of hate from watch purists. Oh, it's a jewelry brand, just like Harry Winston also. And Harry Winston makes some of the coolest watches,
They
and so does
do.
Chapar. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Harry Winston Premier. Oh my God, what a watch! And the Opus that they did, just incredible stuff. But for years, Cartier, Chapar, and Harry Winston, anytime I would mention them, they would kind of get a like kind of blown to the side from collectors as, oh, it's a jewelry brand, they're not real watches. So during the pandemic, vintage Cartier started like making a huge resurgence to the point that when Kanye West wore the crash on, he had the Netflix episode with was it David Letterman that came to his house and to kind of see his Hollywood Hills minimalist apartment or
I think
house.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
think so.
Kanye was wearing the Cartier crash. After that video, that's when the crash just suddenly boom, like blew up from like at the time I think it was about 19,000 if you could find one, 20 grand to like 250 grand, which is insane. All because again, the hype, everything was all about hype as well. And how a lot of these vintage watches like the Rolex King Midas, If you take a time machine back to 2019, you could get a yellow gold Rolex Kin Midas for like $10,000. Now, 35, 40 grand, all because, from influencers to YouTubers, everyone kind of hyped it up. But with Cartier, I actually feel like they really deserve it because they are the masters of design. And they speak to me again because just their design language, they make such cool stuff. Except for their jump hours, man. To me, they look like bathroom scales, and everyone's kind of making the same jump hour style right now. With the little
Yeah.
two windows.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And like you seen my Fernando Ranzan jump hour, the one that the Mad 2 kind of, in my opinion, copied.
I think so. I think so.
It was the crazy one I wore in Geneva on that crazy galaxy
Oh,
strap.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So to me, like that's a jump hour. But everything else is almost like it looks like a bathroom scale. It's like you just got these two little openings, and Cartier again came out with the gold one this year, and that to me is whatever. But again, I'm glad that they're getting recognition they deserve in the watch community instead of just being kind of snubbed out as like, oh, it's a jewelry brand. No, Cartiers were one of the first watches, the Santos Dumont, and they're legendary. What did that watch come out? I think in like 1910 that watch got made. So to me, that's one
Yeah, somewhere around there.
1910,
Sorry.
1912, yeah,
Yeah, I
something
think it was
like that.
19, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that they're getting that recognition. And what was the other topic? I think let's get away from Cartier and Rolex. We've been on them for too long.
uh, how do you feel like your taste has evolved over time collecting independent watches, independent
Oh,
watch
it
brands?
evolved a lot. It evolved a lot completely. So I also, as like a huge, huge enthusiast, lover, collector, I'm bipolar with watches. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Today, I could be wearing a 29 millimeter Santos and be like, oh, I can't wear big watches anymore, blah, 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 blah. Tomorrow, I could put on like a 45 millimeter Beauvais that I have, or a Louis Monet, which is like 46 millimeters, and be in love with that and be like, oh, I can't wear small watches. They're way too small. And at a certain point, I realized I just like everything. I love watches. Today, I could wear 45. Tomorrow, I could wear 36. By the time weekend rolls around, I'm wearing a 27 or 28 millimeter watch, 29. All shapes, sizes, colors. I'm big on dials, though. I love some pizzazz, some flavor on the dial, something unique. Uh, in the last month, you know what I've been obsessing over? Tahitian mother of pearl. What's with the balloons?
I have
Party
no
time.
idea. I was like, what the hell?
Party time.
I've never seen that before. I mean, that must be an epic. The AI, right? Understands
I,
what we're talking
I
about and it's celebrating
yeah,
it.
I guess, right? They should have done that when I mentioned that celebration dial.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been perfect.
So lately I've been obsessed. So Toledano and Chan, which I'm a huge fan of their watch, they're coming out right now next month, I think like mid-May, with their new Tahitian black mother of pearl. And they have that new 3D crystal instead of a flat crystal, which they had on the first B1 that had the lapis dial. They
Yep.
have a 3D crystal now. And when I saw Phil in Geneva, he had a few models that are coming out this year, and one of them he had already that mother of pearl, which I seen in New York at an event he did at John Rousseau's. But the lighting there was horrible, so it was very like dim lit. So it's hard to really tell a mother of pearl without natural light and sunlight hitting it. So when I saw him at Geneva at Beau Rivage, I said, Phil, I'm gonna take this mother of pearl. I wanna take some videos outside. I'll make you a reel, and I want to see how it looks in natural light. And oh my god, I didn't want to take it off the wrist. I wanted to run away with it, But obviously I wasn't gonna do that. But it almost looks with that 3D crystal when the light hits it, it distorts the mother of pearl dial, and it looks like 1 minute it looks like clouds moving, the next minute it looks like a rainbow is coming through the clouds, then it looks like sea ripples in the ocean. It's insane. Like every angle you look at it, it just looks like a different watch, and I became obsessed with that to the point where I ended up getting a Celton, which is like a big micro brand. They have an incredible watch. So it's a moon face, Gia shade, mother of pearl, and I put it on like a crazy python strap to match the mother of pearl look. I don't know if you've seen it on my Instagram, but it looks insane
Maybe.
too. And so I've been up, so I've been obsessed with black opal dials recently, to the point where I ended up getting a Zentier. It was like the bathroom scale jump hour, but I had to get it because there was only 37 of them made. The Opal dial. Are you familiar with Zentia? It's a micro brand. They
I'm
had a few watches come out recently, like a malachite and a blue lapis.
I'm actually not. No.
1 second, I'm gonna pull it up for you. Actually, since I'm in
Yeah.
my room, I'm gonna show you this thing. Super cool. It's a 36 millimeter. 1 second.
For all the people that are listening, you're gonna have to go to YouTube to see this. Oh, hell yeah.
You want me to take it out of the box for the viewers? Or
Yeah,
it's
you
good.
can. Yeah, do it.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second.
Dude, sick.
Yeah, so that's black opal. I'm trying to get like a good view of it. So in light, it really like crackles and sparkles. Uh, so most of these black opal dials, so I started doing my due diligence. They were around on vintage watches, but on the vintage watches, they have about a 30 millimeter case, which I'm fine with. I like watches of all sizes, but to really appreciate black opal, you don't want it on like a tiny little dial because you're not going to enjoy it. So I want to find something that's between 36 millimeters and say 40 to really enjoy that black opal.
How do you learn about all these crazy brands? Like how do you find them?
Man, obsession, I guess. I don't know. I just love watches. It's it took me out of a dark place one time. By dark place, I mean I think I told you the story in Geneva when my dad was sick before he passed away. I would come home every day from either the hospital or hospice, and what kind of got me into my like Alice in Wonderland tunnel was just going on YouTube and watching all these vlogs and podcasts and different watch videos, and that literally just kind of took me away from like the stress of seeing my dad sick and helping to take care of him, and it kind of channeled that into just my own little escape room where it's just like me watches and just kind of diverted my attention from like the real world into like this like land where you know because watches also symbolize time,
They do.
and every time you get a watch, like I could look at a certain watch and I remember the time period I got it in, so it kind of takes me back to that time, or even now, like for example, I have three watches that I got when my dad passed away. So the first watch is a Omega Seamaster 300 chrono, and the reason that one is so significant, so it was my dad's first like big boy watch, I guess, in America.
Right.
And my grandparents, who are now gone as well, they're the ones who gifted it to him. It was his parents. So they gifted it to my dad, I think, circa. So it's the watch that James Bond wore, I think, when Pierce Brosnan was James Bond, and then late 90s, something like that.
Yeah.
So I remember vividly they gifted it to my dad for his birthday, and I think it was like 2001 or 2000 maybe. So I guess I don't remember that well, but I'm bad with dates. But I remember they gifted it to him for his birthday. They're like, "Oh, like son, we want you to have this nice watch."
Wow.
And he wore it as his like first. He wore it for like years, and then he got himself a Brigade Type 21, which I also have now. And then also in 2000, I think it was 15 for Father's Day, I got him a Panerai Chrono Daylight, the chronograph. So that watch is very significant to me because anytime I wear it, it reminds me of the time 10 years ago that I gifted it to him and seeing his reaction on Father's Day because I seen him like on eBay looking at it online on like watch websites looking at that watch. He really liked Panerai, which I never understood at the time. I was never like a Panerista, and I know they have a huge following and a huge community. But I nice. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you the one that I have. 1 second.
I'm a huge Panerai guy.
This is interesting. So
Oh yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
yeah, so it's the chronograph, and he wore it on like a black leather strap that it came on, and I hated that black leather strap. And once I got the watch, I went to Panerai in Manhattan, and I threw it on this white rubber strap. I feel like Panerai's it's my own personal opinion based on my taste, but I feel like Panerai's they really shine on these Panerai rubber straps.
They
Something
do.
about these rubber straps, they give it like a super heavy duty diver look, a sporty look. just super cool, cheap look, just and I just didn't like when he wore it on this black leather strap. I feel like it didn't look good with this like crazy white sparkling dial. And now I call this watch my Snow White because it's white on white now. So these three watches pretty much take me back to a certain time, which again, watches, that was my escape, and all my watches take me to a certain time you can't get back because, we live in a temporal dimension where time just moves forward. So all we have is
Right.
memories, and these watches kind of almost like a picture in time.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, so going back to the Panerai, yeah, I mean, they're the way that they use rubber and have like I mean, it's just the best rubber strap in the game. And
Yes.
then have you seen their like accordion style rubber where it's got like the little like ridges at the top?
Is that the one that they did now with like collaboration with Prada for the Luna Rosa models?
No, no. So it's just kind of like a generic little rubber strap, but at the top of it, it's got
Yes.
little
Yes.
ridges, and they
Oh my
use them
God.
in the submersibles.
Dude, that's the one I originally wanted for this watch, for my dad's watch, but they didn't have it for this model.
I
So I had to
got
get
you.
yeah, where's you see the regular, it's like kind
Yeah,
of the
yeah. So
lugs, right? The ridges were the lugs, I think, right?
no, no, no. It's an OEM Panerai strap.
No, no, but I'm saying those ridges, they were like around where the lugs
Yeah,
are,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. They're right there
Hmm.
where the lugs are.
Yeah, so this is more like a flat one. They didn't have it, but that ridge one, man, that gives it such a good look. And also, Panerai is a strap monster. I could literally put this watch on orange, on teal, on bright yellow, any color, it'll work.
I prefer, so I used to wear those like
Hmm.
the Panerai like branded ones with the Panerai Luminor ones or whatever.
Hmm.
Um and then I started getting into the submersible straps because of those little like ridges at the top. It grows and shrinks with your wrist.
Oh wow.
So like
Hmm.
as if you could make a Panerai strap more comfortable,
Hmm.
those step it up like two or three times, which is crazy to even think
How'd you
about.
get into Panerai?
Um, I don't really know, but the way that I got into watches was I was doing like tiling. My mom was a property manager and she was like hired me and my friends to help out around the complex, and I was laying tile, and then I went out to take a little like break, and on the window seal there was a watch, and I was like it was a gold or like a two-tone chronograph Invicta, like a racing
Mm-hmm.
chronograph. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. And so I started wearing it. And then, I mean, watches in a weird way, they're kind of like little confidence like kicks, you know.
Hmm.
You can look down and see, I mean, now particularly, like you can look down and see your hard work and accomplishments on your wrist.
Mm.
And so at the time I was just like, man, this is so cool the way it makes me feel, like, like the practicality. I was always cooking. I worked at a restaurant, and then, so I was
Hmm.
always using the timer, the chronograph function,
Yeah.
back when I used it. I don't use it
Hmm.
anymore. But no, it just I don't know. And then next thing you know, I moved to LA, and me and my friend we as we started, like he was a DJ and I was like his like booking agent.
Hmm.
And so we bought watches together. We're like, we need some, if we're gonna start pitching stuff, like I was going around calling people, doing cold calling, posting ads on Craigslist, yada yada, just trying to get bookings like for weddings and corporate events for him. And I was like, if I'm gonna be presenting stuff, like it was his idea, kind of like we need watches, like we need some cool ass watches that make us look professional. And we went out and we bought watches. We didn't buy like anything crazy. Like we bought some just some nice little Casios, like the little like Casio metal bracelet ones.
Hmm.
Because he was like a retro head. But anyway, so when we bought them together, that sense of like camaraderie, like I never forget it. For you and your friend to have like a friend's watch, or like a yeah, and so then I was just like the way,
A his and his.
yeah, 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 kind of like, yeah, not, yeah, the opposite of his and hers. But you know what I'm talking about. Like you have
Yeah.
friends where you buy watches together, or you maybe buy the same watch as your friend, or maybe buy like a different variation of it or a different dial
Hmm.
color, and it's a way to kind of express your friendship with somebody. And
I have a
so,
similar story as you actually. So my friend Jeff, so this is like circa from 2012, 13 to about 2020, right? So he was very into watches also. And every year, so he had a real estate company in Staten Island in New York, and I had a e-commerce business with like involving private label goods and shipping containers. So every year, him and I would get a new watch, and it would always be some kind of independent because it started off, my first like big boy watch was a Breitling, and he also had a Breitling. And once we got away from, we both like agreed that our tastes lean towards independence for like cool stuff that you won't see really,
right,
that's made differently, and not to kind of appease to the mainstream crowd, but more of to like the individuality of the person who's going to wear that, I guess. So I remember every year we would commemorate business by getting a watch. So it wasn't a competition, but it was more of like, oh, what are you going to get? Like I couldn't wait to see what he would get, and he couldn't wait to see what I would get, and then we'd go for like a walk and kind of check out each other's watches and kind of, oh congrats. So I remember I got a Beauvais, and he ended up getting Harry Winston Premier. And then the following year, I got myself a Louis Monet Geograph Rainforest limited edition, and he ended up getting it was the perpetual calendar from Roger Dubois. The s- it was the I forgot the model name. I'm so bad with like reference numbers, man. I can't keep all that in my head.
yes, okay,
And yeah, so we're just going back and forth year after year of just like independent brands, and then both of us ended up getting like a Ulysses Nardin Maxime Marine, the chronometer, which I still have to this day. It's the only chocolate dial rose gold case watch that I have. It's like a two tone, but it's like brushed chocolate dial, which is just
yep,
completely gorgeous. And one thing also I'll say, since I have a large collection that I've been collecting for 2 decades. What I love about my collection, and I don't know if this is gonna sound bougie or like strange, but I love that I could go to a lot of different events for brands, and I'll be able to wear a watch for that brand. Like I could get invited to say Breguet, and I'll have a Breguet on, or I could go to a
same,
Panerai event. I'll be able to come with a Panerai. Go to Breitling, I have a Breitling. Go to independent event, I have like freaking 30 independent watches. So I think that's kind of cool also with having a diverse collection. But even the stuff like the big brands like the UN, right now in the last decade, they're very obsessed with getting their freak on, so to
yeah,
speak, because even now in Geneva, like everything is freak, 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 freak. And I pull out my classic UN chronometer, and I'm just like, man, this is just so, it exudes class and confidence and just that understated, just elegant gentleman watch. Whereas now they're so focused on freak, 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 and it's like, man, just take it back to drop a few classics, bring those back.
yeah. I have a UN diver,
Hmm.
and to me, like it's like the perfect UN because it's almost it's not like their chronometers, like their heritage
Hmm.
stuff. Um, but no, dude, I love it. It's like the epitome of what a dressy, water, rugged tool watch should be, and that's just what I tend to wear.
So I
Um,
like to get visual, as you can tell. So I'm gonna whip out the UN right now. Doo, doo, doo.
oh yeah, hell yeah,
Just classy, old school. You could dress it up, dress it down. You could do a black T-shirt. You could wear it with a polo. You could wear it with a button down, with a suit. It's just nice and classy. It's interesting. It's two tone, which is strange because two tone I'm usually used to. Like you hear two tone, like Datejust with the two tone bracelet. But it's weird to see two tone. I feel like on a leather strap, and this is it.
dude,
'Cause-
awesome.
yeah, because the lugs are steel, and then the case is rose gold bezel.
Have you
Yeah.
have you ever been like connected to a watch emotionally in a way that like you never expected?
Mm, of
Like you
course.
buy
Not.
you buy
I
you
don't even
buy
know. I don't even know why I stopped on that one. The answer is like an obvious yes, but it's the connections are again. Two of the watches I'm super connected to is that Panerai because I gave it to my dad,
sure.
and then it came back to me like almost like in full circle when he passed. So that's significant to me because it was a watch I gave him. He wore it so much, like he stopped wearing his Omega and his Brigade, and he would just wear that Panerai all the time. So seeing him wear it made me happy that like, oh, I was able to do something to give back to my dad, because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have got down this watch hobby, because he got me my first watch for my 21st, which was blue Breitling Navitimer. So I guess those two watches have like certain impact, but then again, you probably want me to speak on watches from my own collection that I got for myself, right?
No, no, I mean just any watch.
Hmm.
And so ironically, my dad was a Breitling guy. Like my dad passed away like last August, and before my wife went back to Russia,
Hey, your wife
well,
is Russian?
yeah, yeah,
I don't remember you telling me.
yeah. I told
Huh,
you you were drunk. You
that's
were
all.
drunk though.
Huh. I don't get drunk. I just get tipsy.
Okay, you were tipsy then. But no,
Sedated.
no. Funny enough. Or weirdly enough, like my dad had came and he had been out of real estate for a while, and then he got back into real estate,
Hmm.
and then he joined like a brokerage here in Vegas, and then because my dad moved to Vegas, and then he kind of dragged me out here. Um, but as he graduated from this real estate program, he was like, somebody said to him, I think in the real estate training, like, it's all about my dad was always like a real sharp dresser, but they were like, you need a super nice watch, and my dad had a Movado, which isn't terrible,
No,
but
have you seen some of these vintage Movados? Oh my
they're
God, they're beautiful. Make Movado great again.
yeah, no, I mean his was it was more like a mid 2000s Movado because it had like the little holes in the brace. I can show you a picture of it.
It's called the museum, no? Wasn't it like a Zenith movement? It's called Movado
No,
Museum.
no, this was a quartz watch. Yeah,
Okay,
it wasn't like
but
a
I think it is
crazy.
called the museum, Movado Museum. Look it up later if you have a
It
chance.
yeah, it could be. But so anyways, this guy kind of put it in his head that he needed like a watch or something. And me and my wife went with him to like we took him to Bucharest here. And so he was like, Blake, what type of watch should I get? And so anyways, um he was like really stuck on this like Rolex. I was like trying to see if I can get him a Rolex, right? Like,
Hmm.
the epitome of a status watch.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, they wouldn't allocate him one. Yada, you know how it is. But then we were going through the certified pre-owned section. My dad pulled out this like bust down, like diamond bezel, like mother of pearl dial, like diamond indices dial. And it was like, I mean, it was like a Datejust, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, Dad, do you really want this?
Like
And
you're
he was
really
like,
going all out, huh?
yeah, and I was like, and he was like, yeah, well, what else do you think better we could find? And so, I mean, this was like a $20,000 watch, mind you.
Mhm.
And I was like, so the challenge was accepted that, I found something that kind of fit his bill, like he wanted something that was, comfortable, to wear. I mean, so rubber, we decided on rubber, but we ended up pulling out the Breitling Super Ocean Heritage on rubber two tone. So it had gold in it. You could wear it with silver, gold, whatever. And he went for that, which was 6 grand. And then he wore it every day. And then when those odd months would change, like he didn't even know how to set the date. So like I'd have to meet up with him to set the date properly, or like if it would stop running, like he didn't even know how to really set the watch. But he got that maybe about like a year ago, like 4 or 5 months before he passed away. But now that watch is so crazy important to me because we got to like shop it with him, like we
Mhm.
were there involved in the buying process, like I helped him pick it out. um and yeah, so I have that same kind of connection, that you have with your Panerai. And whenever I was working at like a cybersecurity company, and when I went full time into contractor, my dad was like, "Oh, congratulations! Now you're a free man. Like you can do what you want. Because I was on a salary, I was on a fixed salary, and just from transitioning from like the entrepreneurial side, and so my dad, he helped me buy ironically a Panerai.
Mhm.
So it was like the Luminor, just the 44 Luminor, and I had like said something where I like put a bunch of money into my retirement account, and it was like a Roth, so like it was post tax,
Mhm.
so like yeah, post tax, so like I could withdraw it at any time,
Yeah.
and
Do you
not
do
have to
that
worry
every
about.
year?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I
uh,
just did it now too. You know, it's funny. So I did it right before, you had to roll over the 7K. And I'm very big, like huge on Tesla stock because I think it's going to be my personal opinion that it's going to be the biggest company market cap wise ever. Not because of the cars, but behind all the tech. So just when the markets dropped, the money came into the IRA account and I bought all 7K of Tesla. And then it just shot up already like in these 2 days. So random tidbit.
their earnings were crazy down. I'll
Yeah, but
say,
you know what? It didn't. Once Musk got on a call and he was like, uh, I'm gonna be spending a lot more time with Tesla instead of like Doge and all the stuff that's rolling out with the robo taxis and the full self driving, and also the Model Y. He said they're gonna be cranking out Model Ys in like 33 seconds per car, which is insane, like production wise. I don't even know how that's possible. But the earnings were not too good, but shockingly after hours, the stock went up and pre-market went up and it's been up today. Shockingly, I was like, what the hell? I expected like a huge sell-off, but
yeah. Have you ever gone down like a rabbit hole, like chasing a watch that barely anybody has ever heard of?
oof. Well, I feel like I was one of the first people on Barron's, and that's probably I could say right now Barron's is probably my favorite brand. I have three Barron's watches, and I plan to get more because so I feel like Barron's they are bringing again. I feel like Chinese watchmaking still has this stigma to the point where people would ask me about Barron's, and I wouldn't even say it's Chinese. I would say Hong Kong, just to kind of just because I don't want them to start kind of like, oh, is that Chinese? And I feel like 5 years from now, and the people who are like super Swiss, they're gonna hate me for this, but there's gonna be no difference. The whole like, oh, Swiss only, that's something that's gonna be gone. I feel like 5 years from now, because
Yeah, I mean,
Chinese watchmaking is right now just dude, they're coming out with like triple axis tourbillons at like a ridiculously affordable price, for example.
well,
But with Barons specifically, they have three levels. They have the Barons Inventor, the Barons Original, which is like their low entry, then the Inventor, which is like their mid tier between like 6 to 10 grand watch, and then they have a new one that they came out with called the Barons Master Series. So last year their first watch was the Kung Fu. There was only 10 of them made, and I posted on my Instagram when I met with them. And this watch it's freaking insane. Like it's an insane watch. It's around like I think $18,000. So their midline series, I have three pieces. I have the Joker, which was the collaboration with Konstantin Chaikin, which by the way, they're coming out with a second collaboration with Chaikin in June, which I still don't know what it is. They wouldn't even show me, but it's the second collaboration, and Chaikin has made quite a name for himself
totally.
in the watch community. Because before he got famous with the Joker watches, he was actually like a very renowned watchmaker in Russia and a big clockmaker. He made some legendary clocks, and he holds like I think over 25 different patents for like clockmaking and watches. But he blew up with the Joker watch, and then last year he made the thinnest watch. I feel like everyone's been in a competition to make the thinnest watch possible,
Yeah, it seems
which
lame, but
I agree because I want a little bit of heft on my watch. I don't want like a piece of paper with a strap. Like that to me is kind of even so my favorite Barons watch. So the second one that I have from them is the Batman Tourbillon. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It was one of the watches I brought with me to Geneva.
I think I saw it. Yeah,
So at first I had a love-hate relationship with that watch because I bought it without ever seeing it in person. I only seen videos of it and not even like review videos because it was limited to 200 pieces. And again, a lot of people don't know Barons, and when you have only 200 watches made, the chances of you seeing one in the wild is probably almost non-existent.
yeah,
And So I ended up buying the watch. The reason I had a love-hate relationship, so Batman is my favorite superhero ever. I don't even consider him a superhero. He was a crime fighter who was the real Batman, not what the movies made him, except for the have you seen the last Batman movie with Robert Pattinson?
No, I haven't. I need
Come,
to.
you serious?
Yeah. To me, Batman
Wow.
is Christian Bale. Come on. Come on.
Oh, because you
Or
haven't
Michael
seen this.
Keaton. Or Michael Keaton.
Okay, yes. I actually rewatched Batman Returns with my sister. I put her on recently. That used to be my favorite Batman, but the last one is incredible, man. Like you need to see it. Trust me. It's
I will.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll check it out.
And but in this Batman movie, Batman was who he's supposed to be. He's not a superhero. He was a detective. In the comics, he was a detective, looking at clues and solving all this stuff. And he happened to have all these gadgets since he was a billionaire to be able to, assist. So technically, he's not a superhero. He has no superpowers. So what the what Barron's did, they collaborated with Warner Brothers for the 85th anniversary of Batman, and to create this Batman watch. So where my love hate relationship comes in from, the watch is 38 millimeters, and you're probably thinking like that's a good size, 38. I agree, 38 is a good size. I have two Ming watches, both in 38. The problem that I have with this watch being that small, it's also thin. What goes into this watch? So it's the watch itself is a masterpiece. Come back, I can't see you. I feel like I'm looking at myself. It's weird. Where are you?
Oh, I'm
Come
here.
back. Okay, so there you go.
Just the editing. The editing.
Ah, okay,
Uh,
gotcha.
uh,
So listen, whatever's more comfortable for you. So
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so this watch, what makes it a masterpiece? It really is a horological masterpiece. So the assignment was for the watchmaker, and I found this out because I questioned. So the Chaikin Joker is 42 millimeters, which is on the bigger end, but it's a nice watch. So I would have preferred if this Batman watch was also 42, and I'll tell you why. So the assignment was fit a bilateral date wheel, day and night indicator into the watch, a free sprung tourbillon into the watch, a power reserve, a skeletonized manual movement, and a bidirectional date wheel. So, what I didn't realize until not that long ago, a bidirectional date wheel is a very difficult complication because most date wheels just go forward. So, if
Yep.
today, what's today's date? The 24th, 23rd?
23rd.
23rd. If I need to go back to the 22nd or 21st, I have to go all the way forward,
It's
24,
annoying.
25, 26, 27 until I get there. With bi-direction, I just, click the crown backwards and I'll go back to yesterday right away instead of having to go the whole month just to get back.
Especially if
So
you're
I didn't,
traveling.
yeah, and I didn't know until recently, till not that long ago, that that's a very difficult complication to be able to move the day wheel back instead of having to go all the way around the month.
Oh, yeah.
So they fit that into the watch. They fit a free sprung tourbillon, which is the Batman logo on top of it. The tourbillon, which kind of the bat symbol spins
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
around on the tourbillon. That's the bottom half of the watch. And then at the 9 o'clock, they have a rotating AM PM indicator, which the PM is it's like so it looks like a ball, like a floating ball that rotates. So the black part of it has the Batman logo, that's for nighttime, and then the other half of that ball is white and it has BW standing for Bruce Wayne, which is the day indicator. And then at the top, at around 2 o'clock, they have a power reserve. So they fit all of this into a skeletonized manual wind movement into a 38 millimeter case that's also super thin.
It's
So
crazy.
so that was his assignment. He's like, I want the challenge of fitting all of this into a super thin small case. But my issue was, which is where the love-hate relationship came from. I wish it was bigger because I feel like it has so much juice in the box that I want to be able to really magnify and appreciate it all instead of kind of having to put a loop to it to really see what's inside. I would have preferred if it was 42, just like the Joker, because those 4 millimeters they make like a huge difference, in
Yeah.
terms of visual. But everyone who's seen it was like, "Holy shit! What? Like this is incredible! This is incredible!" Every time I wear it, people want to take videos, photos, and which made me appreciate it that much more. But the real appreciation came when I realized that the watchmaker, when I sat down with Barron's and the CEO Eric in Geneva, and I asked him like, "Why'd you guys make it so small?" Like, he's like, "It's not small." I'm like, "Okay, 38's not small, but why not 42? All your other watches are 40, 41. The Joker's 42." And he said specifically that the designer wanted the task of putting all these crazy things into a smaller case just for the challenge for himself, and mission accomplished, man. It's a crazy timepiece.
Have you ever like influenced a watch brand directly in their design process? I know that you also did like a piece unique with Chanel. Um,
It's funny how you
t
pronounce his name Chanel like the handbags.
well, it was, dude, embarrassing
Schnell,
moment. Chanel.
Schnell, Thomas Schnell,
Okay, Schnell.
Schnell.
Um,
Just call him
but
Chanel. That's fine.
but no, jokingly, my friend follows him, and I think I told you briefly, but my friend follows him. He's like, dude, this guy's in Geneva. Like, you gotta fucking meet him. And I
Mhm,
was like, he's like, I've been trying to get one of these watches for a long time, and he's
mhm.
just the guy's just got so many projects in front of him. Um,
I'm
and
gonna tell you a
anyway,
secret. I mean, I don't know if it's a secret, so hopefully it's not. So you know who he's trying to do a collaboration with? Who actually wants to do it with him? Andre Burkus.
oh wow,
Yeah,
damn,
that would be freaking insane. Yeah, I guess they met each other in Geneva, and we're like, oh, I like your stuff. I like your stuff. Oh, let's do a collab. That would be freaking wild. Like
that
Burkus has been killing it. Everything I see that he comes out with, I'm just like, wow, 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 wow. Like my eyes just
that would be insane.
yeah. So you were
Um,
saying, so your friend was like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. My friend sent me his Instagram tag and was like, "Dude, find this guy." And so I
mhm,
reached out to him when I was in Geneva, and then so he and I were going back and forth, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm at the Paul Expo. Like, where are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm at the Beau Rivage." And then I would go to the Beau Rivage, be like, "Dude, I'm at the Paul Expo," or like, you know what I mean? Like, I like so it just seemed like we were at the opposite places at the opposite times.
mhm,
But ironically, and then when we went to the Wolf Party, and you were like, oh, like I was like, oh, what do you wear? Oh, Chanel, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like I'm you so used to seeing like black and white ceramic stuff,
uh-huh.
and then when I looked closer at it, and then it still didn't really process, but then um when I was following him, and then so he posted your watch up, and I was like, oh fuck. Okay, like full circle moment.
Yep.
Um, and, and so tell us about that whole like process for like I mean commissioning. I'm assuming you just
Okay.
commissioned a watch with him, or
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you the full process, but before I get to that, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So I'm hanging out with Thomas Schnell, and I'm hanging out with my friend Nick, Timekeeper's Guide, who I spent the whole week with. Pretty much, he planned the
yeah, good
itinerary
dude,
for
good
both of
dude.
them. Oh, such an amazing dude!
Yeah,
And so he planned the whole itinerary for us for morning tonight because I hate planning. I'm spontaneous, so I need someone to always plan everything for me. And he just took that task, and he knew the assignment, and he planned everything. So we're hanging out at Time to Watch is in one of the rooms with we're just by the window kind of waiting to figure out what we want to see next, and we're just chatting it up. And I see Goldberger come in. You know Goldberger?
I think so.
Look him up, Aurora Montanero, but he goes by Goldberger. He's that older gentleman who's kind of he's been collecting. I don't know how old he is. I think he's been collecting since we were like swimming in our dad's ball sack. Sorry if this is too rated R NC for this
No, no,
kind of
no,
yeah.
no. It's okay.
So if you look up a photo Goldberger, if you just Google, you'll be like, oh, okay, this guy. Like you've definitely seen him somewhere before because he's known in the watch community.
Oh yeah. John Goldberger.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I seen him walk in, and I know he likes all these vintage stuff, like vintage tanks and all these vintage watches. So I'm like, man, I get my salesman hat on, and I'm like to Thomas Schnell, I'm like, I'll be right back. I want to show Goldberg your watch. So I come up to him, and I seen him walking by. So on purpose, I kind of like brushed my beard like this, so so the watch stands out. And
Yeah.
as he walks by, he kind of like points to it, and I'm like, I want to show you this watch. I'm like, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Jan. I want to show you this watch. I'm actually hanging out with the watchmaker a few feet away. I want to introduce you. So he walks over, and I tell him. So the thing with the Schnell watch is he uses these vintage 40s and 50s Longines movements
Yep.
into these watches. So that was kind of my selling point for Goldberger. I was like, oh, take a look. And he comes over, so I introduced them, and Thomas had two other watches, prototypes with him. And you've probably seen me post. One was like this, like gold dial brass watch, and another
Yeah. Yeah.
was
Yeah.
mine, but mine was like a salmon open work dial, and the one that he had was completely just like nude, metal skeletonized prototype, which also was insane. Like everyone who saw was like, "Oh my god, I want one." And I think I got his books closed for like another half a decade now, thanks to my promotion. But Goldberger walks by and he takes a look at the watch. He starts talking to Thomas, and out of nowhere, he just like reaches into his jacket, takes out a loop, looks at the watch, and tells him, "Oh, the movement on this watch was imported in like 1952," and just kind of puts his loop away, gives him the watch, and walks away. We're all just looking at each other like, "What the?" And like we're cracking up. He just took out the loop and tells him the year that it was imported.
It's
That
crazy, man.
movement. Yeah. So the Schnelle watch. So my process with him, I read an article. I don't remember if it was with monochrome watches or Hodinkee. One of them had an article on Thomas Schnell in 2022, 2023, something like that. They actually had one recently as well. One of the two. One of the two did it first, and then the other of the two did it maybe 2 months ago. So I've seen his watches, and it catered to what I was looking for at the time. So what I was looking for, I always wanted a Cartier tank style watch.
Hmm.
So the only two real company, like two, not real, but the only two companies that kind of make that look are JLC with the reverso and Cartier with the tank. What I was looking for, that like tank style.
Yeah.
The problem is I have never been a fan of JLC, just personal preference. It's a legendary brand. Just the reversos, just it's not me. It never spoke to me. The Cartier tanks, certain models speak to me. Obviously the classic ones, and as most recently, I like the Art Deco. There's the vintage Art Deco, and there's the
Oh,
new Art Deco, and also the mosaic dials. They premiered at Watches and Wonders in 2022 or 2023. I think it was 23. It's
yeah.
the one. It's like rose gold, yellow gold, and white gold tiles,
Like the
mosaic tiles.
tributes or something,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My issue with a Cartier tank and why I ended up not getting one, because any tank I ever tried on, it just didn't sit good on me. Either I have weird wrists, or maybe due to like how flat the case is, it just doesn't have like a flush way of sitting. And I get OCD with watches. So if it's not sitting right and I kind of have to move it around and it still doesn't sit right, then it won't sit right with me, figuratively speaking. So once I saw the Schnell watch, I'm like, whoa, that caters exactly to what I want. I was looking for a tank style. It has that tank style. But on top of that, it looks completely different than anything on the market. And again, I like my watches unique. I like to walk into a watch convention with something that I could share with fellow watch collectors to really wow them, not because I want to wow them, but to kind of share that joy of like, hey, check this out. This exists in the world. Oh, what's that? Oh, tell me more. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, I like to share that passion of watchmaking, of these independent brands and micro brands with other collectors, because there's a good chance that a lot of the watches I have, someone hasn't seen them ever in the wild. And just for them to experience like, whoa, there's something super ultra cool out there that I've never heard of. This is awesome. Thank you for introducing me. I like that feeling of just like sharing, with these watchmakers, the art that they have created, and to help share it with the world, because obviously these indie brands, they have smaller budgets than say a Rolex or a Patek. So I like to kind of market it for them, almost be their ambassador, if I love the brand. And with the Schnell watch, what I really loved were the lugs. They were stepped on both sides, and they were
Yeah, it's
also
beautiful.
sandblasted, and they kind of curved to the wrist. And on top of that, the pin buckle on the strap also it's a stepped pin buckle, so it kind of matches the case, which I thought was super cool. And I also love the Art Deco style of the dial. And there was, when I contacted him, it was last year. He told me his books are closed. And every month I would kind of DM him and bother him because I'm very impatient with watches. If there's a watch and I can't wait, I don't want to wait. Like, for example, I have a Christopher Ward Belcanto. I have the Phoenix edition, which this guy Jazz from like a McLaren car club created. He does like bespokes with CW. And the Belcanto Phoenix, it was made with this like super bright orange color to match his McLaren, which is like that orange color. And he ended up, I met him through the Rolex forums at the time that I was on them. It's called Rolex forums as the message
Yeah,
board.
yeah, yeah,
I ended up
yeah, yeah.
getting kicked off for like them just being snobs and whatever. But I met Jazz through there, and he ended up actually giving me an allocation for the Belcanto, for the Phoenix, and there was only 99 of them made in that
Wow.
color. Yeah. So even though the Belcanto is already not a rare watch, but the Phoenix is, because 99 were made.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
So with that watch, shoot, why did I bring it up?
You're talking about kind of like how your collaboration with him kind of manifested.
Hold on. I'm trying to remember. Um, shoot. This is what happens when you go off tangents, and I could speak all day on watches.
That's all right.
Uh, okay, so whatever. So back to Thomas. So what I liked about the case, I like these. Okay. So CW, they had some watches at there was like in, I think it was in Prague. There was like a micro brand and indie event.
Yep.
And then Thomas, actually, I found out about this event, and Thomas was there showcasing his watches. I think I forgot what it's called, like Prague Indie Show or Prague Micro Brand,
Mike, it
something
was
like that.
micro brand Praha. Yeah.
Prague, yeah. Okay, so you know what that was.
Yep.
So I ended up looking at the Instagram at the stories and started seeing all the cool watches that were there, and one of them was Schnell's prototype of the skeletonized dial. And at this point, so okay, I remember back to the 10 why I brought up CW. So CW, they had a pre-order for that Belcanto. I ordered it and I got the watch a year later. And I can't do something like that again because to wait a whole year, it's like, man, if I want to watch, I want it like even 2 months is kind of long. I want it now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember when I wanted that Baron's Joker because 200 were made. I literally ended up finding a seller for it, and I had the watch shipped overnight to get it the next day. Like I can't
Wow.
wait. Like I'm super impatient, which is something I need to work on. But also, if I like watches, why do I need to be patient? If I want to wear one
Yeah.
today, like I want to wear one today. So yeah, so that's why I brought up CW because it took like a year for the Belcanto. So when Schnell tells me his books are closed, I decide to bother him at least once a month. Like Thomas, come on, any update? Any update? And I actually told him that I love your watch so much that I want to feature it in different. At the time, this was right. I was about to do Tommaso's show, or maybe I just shot it. I don't remember the collector conversation. And when we finished it, Tim actually told me he wants me back for a sequel. So you heard it here first. So with a sequel, I have to bring a new set of watches. And one of the watches that I wanted to bring was Thomas's because it's so unique and it's a watch that I like love and that I hold so dear to me because it really itched that tank itch that was I was scratching at for years and years. And I'm glad I didn't pull a trigger on the tank. I feel like I would have regretted it. But Thomas's watch gave me everything that I wanted, that look, that feel of like what it would have been like to have a tank, but with a different, unique spin on it, just something completely out there, something completely unique. And I haven't seen a single Thomas Schnell watch in the wild until I met Thomas Schnell and he had two on him, you know. So I'm probably the only one in New York who has a Schnell for now, or as you would say, Chanel. Uh, and finally he got back to me. He's like, I'll open my books for you. Like you've been patient long enough. Like I waited months and months and months and months. And then I asked him for a small solid, which he charges for, but he did it for me to put my favorite number, which is 23, and to put for Jan on the case back.
I saw that.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
makes it like almost like a unique piece for me because that watch is special to me and I wanted it kind of catered to me even more so than just if he would have gave me the watch. So he
Sure.
did all that. And when I saw at the what was it called? Praha or Prama? I don't remember the show.
Micro brand Praha.
Praha. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I saw he had a prototype, which was open work, I told him because originally we were doing like a Salmon Dal, but it was like a regular Art Deco. And what I really wanted, he had another piece with those skeletonized dial with Arabic numerals. If you look on his Instagram, you'll see it there. He did it for somebody. And I wanted something similar, but we decided, okay, you know what? Maybe that'll be like a second piece. Let's go with like a salmon dial because I don't have any salmon dials at all in my collection. And during that Praha micro brand, I saw he had a prototype which was skeletonized but with Art Deco numerals. And I was like, okay, this is what I want. Like, let's do this. And he was like, okay, cool. And then he told me he could make the case since it's open work. You pretty much see the movement on the dial.
Yeah.
It's open
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said it could be salmon, like salmon coated movement. And I'm like, okay, perfect, let's do that. And so now it's like a salmon dial, but it's pretty much the whole movement is on the dial plate.
It's
Yeah.
amazing, dude. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And
Uh,
then he put it on this crazy gray salmon strap, and I was just like, oh my God, mind blown.
do how do you feel that like let me see. Do you think yourself more as like a curator or like a patron of the arts or just an enthusiast like
So I'm weird. I'm a huge enthusiast, but also I love to share that enthusiasm and all these in quotes random
For
brands.
sure.
The reason I say random because most of the brands I look at, people have never heard of them, and I just want to share that like, hey, check this out. This is super cool. You've probably never heard of it, and if you actually do the research, you'll see that it's an amazing brand. So I'm very enthusiastic. I love to share that. It's almost like I do like I'm an advertiser for these freaking brands. I need to start getting paid for this. I promote the shit out of them. Like, my Fernando Ranzan jump hour, the Schnelle watch, my Barons. Like, I just wear them all the time to like all these events and like that I know it's gonna be new people. And just because one, it's I know I'm gonna be the only one in the room with it. Two, it's just it speaks to me in that artsy, unique watch that just kind of is an extension of my personality. And also just to kind of I want people to know that there's these amazing brands out there in like these uncharted territories that you don't know about because you've been spoon-fed Rolex and Patek down your throat like
Yeah.
since you're a child, and like there's just so much cool stuff out there that you don't know, and it's so much cooler than the stuff you know.
Is there a watch out there that that eludes you that you've been looking at for so long that maybe you passed up on it when you had the opportunity to buy it, and just since then you haven't seen another one come back, or like is there something out there that has done that to you?
No, honestly, no.
Okay. Wow.
uh
Surprising.
like what I really like is the Ludwig Bayard, the upside down watch. I think that's an insane watch. But I'm also at this weird point in my life, right? As like this huge watch enthusiast. I'll give you an example. Like I love the MBNF perpetual calendar. I think that's, in my opinion, probably the best watch of these last 2 decades. But, and I know this might sound weird or it might sound very like, oh yeah, I totally agree and understand that. So the watches say about 160,000, right? If I say got that watch, right? Say I decide I'm like, you know what? I want that watch. Let me freaking pull this trigger and I buy this watch for 160 grand, right? Now I wear this watch. Instead, you know what I could do with that same 160 grand? Buy like 20 super cool independent watches and literally have 20 super cool watches that'll also have balance wheels or have some kind of tourbillon or tell time in a different way. So I'm at this point now where I find it super silly to kind of spend like a shitload of money on one watch where you could literally get 10 super cool or 15 super cool heavy duty finely made watches for that same amount. And they say like less is more, but not in that's not my opinion with watches because there's just so many cool indies and micro brands with so many interesting designs, the dials, shapes, ways of telling the time. Like I have this Barron's 20 gram watch. Have you seen it? It's the one, the super thin watch, but it's the one
Uh,
where the whole movement is right on the plate.
I'm not sure. Maybe I probably have. Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
so basically the whole movement is skeleton. Is the one where the dial is kind of squarish, but it's not really a square. It's a little bit the angles are a bit different. It starts off like 42 and tapers to 38. Do you know what I'm talking
I'll,
about now?
I'll have to go back and look. I
Yeah.
will.
Just
But yeah.
Google Barron's 20G. It stands for 20 grams. The watch weighs 20 grams, so it's like literally like 5 pennies. Type in Barron's 20G. You've definitely seen this watch. It's
Oh yeah, 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 yep,
okay.
yep.
This watch is it's a stunner. So when they first released it, I think like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, people were comparing it to like a Richard Mille in terms of like it's like having an MB&F or Richard Mille on the wrist, except for like 1/20th of the price. And
Right.
it's very true. So that Barron's, I think the MSRP is like close to 8 grand on it, like 7,800, seventy nine
76
hundred,
hundred.
seventy
Yeah.
six. Um, but that watch literally on the wrist, it feels, it looks, and it's made like a freaking 60, $70,000, $80,000 watch. So it curves, first off, it curves to your wrist. Second, it weighs literally 20 grams. That's why it's called 20G, which is funny. They ended up making another model with three or four different colors that looks the same, but it's called 11G. And I held them both hand in hand, the 20G and the 11G in Geneva. And the difference is obviously the freaking 9 grams. But what the hell is 9 grams? It's like a freaking feather. You don't really feel the difference, except one costs significantly more. But this watch itself, so it has a retrograde hours and retrograde minutes. It has a power reserve, and the whole movement is right on the plate. So the case back is closed because you don't need an open case because you see literally on the dial, you see the movement.
Right.
And it's just super like It's a masterpiece of a watch, and all the reviews when it came out were like, "This is a masterpiece. This is a masterpiece." And I'm like, I need to get my hands on that. And a lot of watch enthusiasts that I knew who like oddball watches were saying that, "Oh, we want that watch." And at the time, I was kind of like, I don't know, just because the angular case kind of fucked with my OCD. But then I saw the watch, I tried it on, and I was like, I need this watch. And now it's in my collection. It's actually one of my favorite watches. Of all the watches, that's one. If you told me, like, you have to give me six watches in your collection you'll never part with, that Baron's 20 gram is one of them for sure. Like, that watch is just, man, like,
Is is there a piece that you've gotten rid of or you let go that you just like kick yourself over for letting it go?
no. So, okay, so there's two interesting things, and both of them are completely, uh, have nothing to do with each other. And it's two things that, I had to get rid of. I call it like my blind spots, right? So the first blind spot, which is to answer your question, is about getting rid of watches. So for years I would just collect, 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 and a lot of collectors I met, when we would talk watches, they would tell me that in order for a watch to come into the collection, something has to come out. And after a while, at first I was like kind of like, mm, does it though? Because I would just collect, 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 and I got to a certain point where I realized I'm like, wait a second, Jan, you love watches, you love collecting. But a lot of these watches you haven't worn in years, literally like in years, or maybe you wore it once in the last 3, 4 years. And the question that I had to dig deep in with myself and ask myself is, do you really need it in your collection? So I'll give you an example. I had three Cartiers, right? This gold or massif and two other vintage ones, a Galbay and a two-tone Carré. So the Galbay, there was only 2,000 of them made in the year 2000 for SIHH for the Asian market, and it was an automatic dial. The watch was automatic. Usually the Galbays are quartz. There was only two made that were automatic. This was one of them that had fully loomed Roman numerals, and there was no date window. And it looked completely like a brushed gray dial with the steel case. It just completely blended well. Only 2,000 of them made. It's a super classic watch. But unfortunately, I almost never wore it. I wore it once or twice. I had it for years. And I ended up getting rid of that and my two-tone carre because the only one of my three Cartiers that I would wear is my gold or massif, and that's my favorite watch of all time. If you got rid of my whole collection and if I didn't have these heirlooms that involved family, and you told me, Jan, you could only keep one watch in your collection, it would easily, hands down, be this gold Cartier or massif. So for me, I started selling some of these watches because I realized I'm like, wait a second, why the watch collecting hobby is an expensive one. It's not like perfumes where, even niche
Yeah.
perfumery, yeah, I could spend like $400 on a bottle of cologne, but it's not, you know, watches are significantly more. Um, so I realized I need to start selling some of these watches because what's the point of having a watch if you're not wearing it? And then I would be like very on the fence about that because then I would look at them and try them on. And I'd be like, man, I don't want to get rid of this. I love this watch. But then after I'm like, but if you love it so much, why don't you ever wear it? you know so I realized I need to make free up some cash, and like I can't just keep hoarding watches because then I'm a watch hoarder instead of a collector. So I started selling off some watches, but nothing that I've regretted yet.
Do you
Oh
feel like
no,
there's any?
no, sorry, I regret one watch, that
What?
that Datejust 36 palm green dial that got
Oh,
discontinued.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you did. You
Hmm.
did mention that.
Yep, that's it though.
Um, do you feel like there's any pitfalls to avoid when collecting independence?
No, no, just go with what you like. If the watch has to speak to you. And I always say, don't get a watch just because someone else tells you it's a cool watch. Get a watch because it speaks to you, it resonates with you, and it just, you know how it is. You see a watch and it just, that's you. You just know it's you. It's like, oh, this is me. This is an extension of me, whatever it is. Whether it's a color or whatever it could be, just something in that watch just resonates with you and it just feels like it's an extension of your arm, you know? So, pitfalls, no, not really. Just buy whatever you like. Don't buy what someone else likes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, yeah, I mean, this has been crazy insightful to kind of to pick your brain, to talk about independence, the future
Mhm.
of independence. I feel like we covered a lot. Is there
Can I tell you
anything?
that second blind spot? The first was with the in and out of the collection.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
second one, just because so your viewers and your listeners don't get curious. Oh, there's like two. The other blind spot I had was with straps. So with straps before, I used to feel like I could only have the strap that came with the watch. Otherwise, it feels like buying a car and putting aftermarket rims on it, which to me always looked odd.
Yeah, it
And I
does.
had to get rid of that blind spot. And now this is gonna sound like cocky or arrogant, but it's not. I'm very humbled by this. I have a lot of like people in the watch community who'll DM me or WhatsApp me because I have like a lot of these different like indie and micro brand groups on WhatsApp, and they'll actually ask me to help them. They'll send me a photo of a watch they bought or are buying or are waiting on. They'll be, hey, can you help me? You're like the go-to guy for like super cool, unique straps. I became, I guess, that guy from like, I don't know. I guess it started with that Galaxy strap on the Ranzan and the Mother of Pearl strap on the Sultan. And I have like a good eye for like straps, I guess, at this point. And it's just so people will come to me and they'll be like, "Oh, can you help me like find the strap?" And I'll send them straps, like links to straps, and they're usually they'll end up buying it, and then like a week later they'll hit me back like, "Dude, I got the strap. It's perfect. Thank you so much. Like, I knew I could count on you." And that's like so humbling, and it makes me feel so like I don't know. It feels like I'm appreciated, and I appreciate that I'm able to give back to actually have someone enjoy their watch that much more, and to be of help and like kind of give back to the community and like
I love
whether it's
that.
advice or just like some kind of help, because I will take that time to like actually go through different straps and find them something for the watch. Like, sometimes it'll take me like 40 minutes to an hour, but I'll do it because I just enjoy it, man. It's on my free time. I'll just enjoy doing that, be doing something for the community and in the realm of the watch community. But yeah, so
No,
that was the blind spot to get rid of like, oh, to just be able to put custom straps on watches. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm done.
no, yeah, that makes sense now. Full circle, and I love that. I love that you're so passionate about the community and watches. And I just felt like we had to have this discussion for everybody, instead of
Mhm.
having it the same discussion behind closed doors, but to open it up for the audience. And yeah, I mean your wisdom is insane.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure. I'm gonna
Yeah,
get going, and I'll let you edit this. It's been, man. This like these two
super
hours
fun.
just like flew by completely.
I know, it's crazy. It
Yep.
that's the way it happens. We just have so much fun on these things. It's hard to bring it all together. So, all
Hmm. Awesome. Sounds good. All right, man. It's been a pleasure. I'm gonna run. Chat with you soon. Ciao. Thank
right,
you for
buddy.
having me. Yep.
Yeah,
Bye.
yeah. Later, man.